What were your parents like?
Well, my dad was a farmer, obviously, was his father and all the family before him. He was an immigrant from Northern Ireland, came over as quite young at that time. But farming was his life, and he didn't have more than a couple of years of formal education. But he was really indebted to the idea that if you want to get ahead in the world, especially coming being an immigrant, I think a lot of them thought that too. People had to have an education, so he was really dedicated to my brothers and my sister and I getting an education. That was his primary, almost motivation for even living. He was so dedicated to that idea. My mother, she graduated from high school, and we all thought that she was at the highest possible level. To graduate from high school, wow.
Yeah.
And her background was also from the farm too.
Okay.
And so we were farm families, really.
What is the earliest memory that you have from the farm, that something that made an impression on you?
I was very young, and we had these big feed boxes, stored the grain and the feed in it to give to the cow. And my mother took my brother and I and would put us into the feed box. We weren't supposed to get out of the feed box, so we could stay in the feed box and play. And we did, but I somehow climbed out of the box, started walking down in front of where the cows were, and the cow saw me. And she came after me because she thought, that she was maybe going to get her calf. That's what cows behave.
By a cow.
And she had horns, and she came and she hit me right here.
How old were you?
I don't know. I was 3 or 2. I was very young, and she hit me here, and then she had her horn, and she was about to come down and gore me with her horn, and my father by that time had jumped up from where he was, and then picked me up and ran with me. And by the time he took me back down to the house, my pants were wet. So I just.
I think I would have wet my pants in the same situation too.
Yeah.
But that also explains, why you are against dairy products.
No.
You got attacked by a cow.
I really got caught up. I was the oldest of the 4 of us, and so I got the privilege of milking a cow when I was 5 years old.
Oh, that must have been fun.
And
did you take to it naturally? I mean, there's
there's a certain way of doing it.
Yeah, it's a technique.
Yeah, it's a technique. You sway from like that.
Yeah.
But in any case, I did that, and they let me do it pretty often when I was quite young. But in those days, he was one of the first farmers that had a machine.
Right. Well, let's clarify too that he was a dairy farmer.
He was a dairy farmer. Yeah.
So how many cows did he have?
Oh, in those days, just a typical family farm. I don't know what it was, maybe 15.
Mm-hmm.
Just some number like that. I don't know exactly. But the machines weren't all that efficient, so you had to go behind them and get the last little bit, and that was called stripping.
Okay.
And so that's what I did. I went behind this one cow, stripping the cow from New Brunswick, New Jersey. We'll call her New Brunswick. I remember. I gave a lecture in New Brunswick not too long ago. I had to tell that story. I'm glad to be back in New Brunswick to see where my cow came from.
Okay, so you were the eldest child of how many?
Right. There were 4 of us, 2 brothers and 1 sister.
And how much older were you than your next
I was
sister?
9 months and 20 days older than my next brother down. Pretty close.
That's cutting it real close.
Yeah, it's cutting it close, yeah.
What kind of relationship did you have with your siblings then? I mean, were you, as the eldest, even though it was a very small age differential, did your father expect you to take on more responsibility?
Very definitely. I mean, that was sort of the British custom, and he was proud of his British heritage, Scottish British, if you will. And looking back on it, that's just the way British fathers and men do, sort of. They put a lot of responsibility on the eldest son. And so I always felt that responsibility. If my brother got in trouble or did something, I would get punished like he would.
Really?
Sort of like that, more or less. And it wasn't really anything serious, but I always had this feeling that, he expected a lot of me.
Mm-hmm.
And of sort of demanded a lot of me.
But you didn't find that onerous, right?
No, I didn't. I sometimes thought, you know, why am I getting maybe held responsible for something that wasn't my fault?
Yeah.
But we were very close, actually. My brother and I were very close.